Hey guys, welcome back. Today we've got another knife loaned in from my very good friend Alex at Alex's Knife Box. And down in the description will be a link to his channel, so go please check him out. He is well on his way to hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark, so if you can help him out, that would be excellent. This is a custom knife from, and I'm going to screw up the name, I am sure, Damjan knives in Croatia. So this is the small Saurus is what they call this model, and it is rather small. It looks very similar to some other knives you may have seen from Dalabar, and that is because Dalabar trained Damjan on how to make folding knives. Damjan was making fixed blades first and hooked up with Dalabar and learned how to make folding knives. So let's jump into the specs. It's 4 3/16 closed with an overall length of 7 3/16. Blade length is 3 inches, just a hair over 3. The edge length is 2.46 because it has quite a big little semi-choil here and a big sharpening choil. We'll talk about that a little bit closer, a little bit more at the end. The blade steel is CPM 3V, which is excellent. The blade thickness is 0.20, so it's really beefy. You can literally use this one as a pry bar. Weighs in at 6.3 ounces, so it's a good heft to it. Overall thickness of 0.61, so pretty average size, minus the clip. And it runs on washers. But it's pretty freaking smooth for washers. I had my finger on the lock bar there. So it runs really good. They did a good job when they made this. I really, when Alex first sent it to me and I pulled it out, I was like, dang, this is small. But the more I kind of handle it, it's a handful in a good way. As far as the blade, the edge length, as we zoom in here, it's got a big ramp here to kind of choke up on, which is really nice. And then it's got a flat part here and the sharpening choil. So you can really sharpen it back. Could you have gotten a little bit more edge length out of this? Sure. But I think for a 3-inch bladed knife, this is fantastic. This particular one does have a Damascus clip that's beautifully done, 3D milled titanium clip. It does have standard spanner wrench type, spanner bit type of pivot, and the rest of the hardware is just standard Torx bits, so no problem there. Has a nice two-tone finished hollow ground blade. I really like the swedge on top. It's just, a nice aesthetic. It feels good in the hand. One of the things, the finish is what he calls a tree bark finish on these contoured scales. It's like an orange peel finish, but it's kind of directional, so it does, look like the bark of a tree. And the scales are, contoured around. I love this gear pattern backspacer, and something I noticed that we'll try to show on camera here, let me grab my light, is inside of the scales, I think this non-lock bar side is the better one to show. It's kind of engine turned or jeweled. It has some machining inside, again, just for aesthetics, but I really appreciate a maker when they do that really a small attention to detail that nobody's really going to see. I think the average person that would buy this knife would never even notice that. because it's something you have to be looking for. One thing that's kind of cool, this is a thick blade. It is hollow ground, but it has a very pronounced sharpening bevel, or sharpened bevel, I guess, which is uncharacteristic of a lot of other knives. Let me see if I can pull this one out to show you what I mean. So if we look at the Medford here, that sharpened bevel is rather thin. That shiny part down at the bottom, that secondary bevel, if you will, compared to this one here, and it's a little bit tougher to see just because of the finish of the blade, but you can tell right here, that line, and it's a pretty consistent line all the way up through the belly of the blade. So that way it can really get the cutting edge much thinner, even though it is a hollow grind, that just gets it a little bit thinner with a lot more meat behind it for cutting, prying, types of tasks. This is just going to be a lot more durable over long term. So let's do a couple of size comparisons, because something kind of clicked in my head here when I pull out the next one, the next knife to compare it to. Here it is against a Sharpie. I did the Delica video yesterday for the exclusive from my buddy Zach at Knife Joy. And I kind of said in that video that the Delica was too small for me. When I really sat down and started measuring the small Saurus, and they do make a large Saurus, I don't know the dimensions of that. But when I really got down to measuring the small Saurus, it's only about a 1/16 of an inch or so bigger than the Delica. So is the Delica really too small for me? I think what it is the Delica is too thin for me, so it doesn't fill my hand very well. And I think that's kind of a perception and mental block. But the dimensions are within a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch in overall and blade lengths. So it's the little things that can be deceiving. It's the thickness of this that fits really well in my hand. It fits great in the pocket. And I would have no problems carrying this all the time as a main knife, whereas this I think is too small. Okay, so kind of an interesting epiphany there. And since we're talking about the Endura, which I think is a better sized knife for me, you can see how much longer it really is than the small Saurus. Again, it's the thinness of it that I think detracts for me, because I've been of late in recent years and whatnot really carrying things that are just a little bit thicker and fill the hand a little bit better. We'll give you one last comparison here. The Todd Begg Steelcraft Field Marshal, which I carry a lot. I have two of these, this one in Damasteel and then one just with a PVD blade and a green anodized scales. But I carry this a lot just because it is a great ergonomic knife and it fits well in the pocket. But again, it's similar in thickness. This is actually a little thinner, but it's not as thin as the Spydercos are. So just kind of something interesting. I think this is really a fabulous knife. You can see on the blade there is some glinting because Alex uses this a lot. There's a little ding down here. He carries this one a lot and uses his knives for a lot of things. So it's great to see, kind of a custom, not a kind of a custom, but a full custom knife that is being used. So anyway, I will leave you with that. Thanks for watching. Please go check out Alex's channel. He could really appreciate that. And he's got some great content, and he can go into a little bit more of the history of Damjan knives in Croatia. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.